السلام عليكم. والصلاة والسلام على رسول محمد الرحيم. مدد يا رسول مدد يا سيد الدستور وعلى شعب الله طريقتنا الصحبة والخير في الجمعية. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم. صدق الله العظيم. Allah Azze ve Celle insanları değişik
Allah Almighty created humanity manifold in different various types.
çeşitlerde yarattık.
Allah Almighty says that He Almighty Allah created humankind manifold in various different types.
Bazıları siyah, bazıları beyaz, bazıları sarı, kırmızı.
Some of them are black, some of them are white, some of them are yellow, some of them are red.
Huyları da değişik diyor Allah.
And as their appearance is different, so is their character too, Allah Almighty says.
Azze ve Celle Allah'ın hikmeti istediğini yapar.
And this is based on Allah Almighty's wisdom, and He Almighty Allah may do as He likes.
Hikmetini kendi bilir.
And only He knows the wisdom behind what He does.
Bu insanlar kendi aralarında en iyisi kim diye yapar.
People among each other want to know who is the best among themselves.
Allah indinde hangisi en iyisi olması.
The best among people is the one who is the best in the divine presence in the sight of Allah Almighty.
Lazım olan odur.
What is important is not so much about being good among people, but what is important is to be considered to be the best in the sight of Allah Almighty, to be considered good in the sight of Allah Almighty.
İnsanların arasında iyi istedikleri şey insana en çok menfaattır.
Because people, what they are interested in you, the reason why people consider you good is because of their self-interest and because of their profit they gain from you.
Allah indinde de takvadır.
However, to be good in the divine presence, to be good in Allah Almighty's sight, is based on whether you are cautious and conscious of Allah Almighty.
Kötülükten sakınmak.
To be good in the sight of Allah Almighty means to refrain and to stay away from bad things.
İyilik yapmak.
To be considered good in the sight of Allah Almighty in the divine presence means to do goodness.
İyi bir insan olmak.
To be good in the sight of Allah Almighty means to be a good person.
O Allah indinde en iyi insan odur.
And that is who is the best person in the divine presence, someone who is a good person.
Onun indinde iyi olan insanlar arasında da iyi olur.
And the one who is considered a good person in the divine presence in the sight of Allah Almighty is also a good person among people.
Allah indinde kötü olunca insanların anında istediği kadar adamlar olsun.
But if you are not considered a good person in the divine presence in Allah Almighty's sight, then nothing will benefit you, no matter how many people are around you,
Sevenleri olsun.
no matter how many people claim to love you.
Hiçbir fayda olmaz.
None of this will be of any benefit if you are not a good person in the divine presence.
Çünkü o sevgi menfaat sevgisidir.
Because that love people claim to have towards you is only based on self-interest and personal profit.
Allah rızası için sevgi olan başka.
Because there is a difference between to love for the sake of Allah Almighty and to love a person for just self-interest and profit.
Menfaat için başkadır. Menfaat için en sonunda menfaat kalkınca ne sevgi kalır.
Because when someone loves you just for profit, then when that or self-interest, when that self-interest no longer exists, then this love that person claimed to have for you also will stop to exist.
Ne hürmet kalır.
Then there will be no respect.
Ne vefa kalır.
There will no longer be any loyalty.
Hiçbir şey kalmaz.
Nothing will remain because that love, that loyalty, respect was only based on that person's interest and what he could gain from you.
Allah yolunda olan, Allah'ın sevdiği insanlar, o iyilikler onda olur muhakkak.
However, someone who follows the way of Allah Almighty is someone who does good things.
Kötülük çıkmaz ondan.
A person who follows the way of Allah Almighty is a good person and does not do bad things.
Kötü olan, Allah Azze ve Celle'nin yolunda olmayan,
The one who is a bad person or who does bad things is someone who does not follow the way of Allah Almighty.
nefsi için çalışan,
The one who works for the sake of his ego is a bad person.
kendini tatmin etmek için her şeyi yapan insan,
The one who does everything in order to satisfy his ego is a bad person.
o yaramaz insandır.
That person who just does everything for the sake of his ego is a useless person.
Burada terazi Allah Azze ve Celle'nin korkusudur.
And the scales, in order to find out whether someone is a good or bad person, is based on whether someone is cautious and fearful of his Lord Allah Almighty.
Allah'tan sakınmaktır. O sakınan insan hiçbir kötülük yapmaz.
The one who is fearful, conscious or cautious of Allah Almighty is someone who does not do bad things.
Sakınmayan insan her türlü kötülüğü yapabilir.
And the person who is not fearful or who is not conscious of Allah Almighty may do any bad thing anytime.
Onun için Allah muhafaza etsin.
Therefore, may Allah Almighty protect us.
Allah'ın indinde sevilen insan olalım.
We must become someone who is loved in the divine presence in the sight of Allah Almighty.
Başkalarının yanında sevilen insan yaramaz.
There's no meaning in trying to be someone who is loved by others.
Bir dakikada bırakır. Sen
If you just seek other people's love, they may love you, but they may leave you in a minute.
yüzüstü bırakır ya sana zarar verir.
They may abandon you anytime, or they may harm you anytime.
Yani menfaati olunca
Because all what their love is about their self-interest and the profit they gain from you.
o yapabilir.
But when that self-interest and profit ceases to exist, they may do anything against you.
Yani Allah yolunda olan insan hiçbir zaman kötülük istemez.
However, who follows the way of Allah Almighty never does any bad thing and never wants any bad thing to happen to anyone.
Kötülük yapmaz. Çünkü imanı var.
Because someone who believes in Allah Almighty and follows the way of Allah Almighty has faith in Allah Almighty.
Allah benimle beraberdir. Allah ben.
Who believes in Allah Almighty knows that Allah Almighty is with him.
Beni görüyor.
Who believes in Allah Almighty believes that Allah Almighty sees him.
Ne yaptığımı biliyor.
And knows that Allah Almighty is well aware of what he does.
Bu imandır.
That is the sign. These are the signs of faith.
İman olmayınca Allah muhafaza etsin.
But when somebody does not have faith, then may Allah Almighty protect. A person may do anything.
Allah şerlerinden korusun.
May Allah Almighty protect us from the evil of those people who do not believe in Allah Almighty.
Onlardan dünya öyle insanlarla dolmuş.
This world, however, is filled with such people who are not fearful of Allah Almighty.
Dünya menfaati her tarafı kaplamış.
This entire world is filled with people who are only after their self-interest, who are only after making profit and only pursue to satisfy their own interest.
Allah ıslah eylesin.
May Allah Almighty change their ways and guide them towards the right way.
Allah muhafaza etsin.
And may Allah Almighty protect us.
Amin. Allah tevfik. El-Fatiha.